Well, hello and welcome to the Brian Hornback Experience, episode 127. Still continuing to do some things here in the compound to make it a little more appealing to you, the viewer. If you're listening, no change, okay? But still got the lights, still got the same equipment. The only difference is I've upgraded the stand and made it a little bit closer. Trying to find my charger right here, right now. Hey, a lot of things been going on in Knox County. I was on with an Express Edition not too long ago, about a week ago, and we talked a little bit. But let's talk about the latest blog post that's up on brianhornback.com. It's called School Security is Broken. Now, remember that I am a former school board member 20 some years ago. Was elected in 2000, served until 2004, was Republican Party chairman 2005 to 2007. I'm currently on the state executive committee for the Tennessee Republican Party, one of 66. Look, I'm willing to accept the responsibility that during my 4 years on the school board, maybe school security wasn't addressed. But the fact of the matter is, it's been several decades that school security hasn't really been addressed. We're on right now, best I can figure, we're on about our fourth school security chief. There was a guy, Raz Scruggs was security chief. A guy named Steve Griffin was security chief when I was there. Then we hired school board hired a former KPD guy in Gus Padusis. And now, for the last 2 years, we've had this guy named Jason Perriard, I think is how you say his last name. He's from Los Angeles. Here's the problem. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to before Columbine. That would have been before I ever decided to run for school board. I decided to run for school board in 99. Columbine happened somewhere in 98, 99, somewhere in that time frame. If I had my computer up, I could tell you because I could Google it. But about a year before Columbine happened, then Knox County Sheriff Tim Hutchison, who had gotten elected in 1990, went to the county commission and said, look, I want to put an officer in every Knox County school. And they said, oh, no, Sheriff, that's going to be too expensive. We can't do that. And then fast forward to Columbine. Columbine happened, and the commissioners came back and said, oh, Sheriff, you might have known what you were talking about. And so at that point, they began to work on putting an officer in every school. Well, at that point, it was high school and middle school. They didn't worry about the elementary schools. Remember, Knox County's got 95 schools. They had 95 schools when I was on the school board. They still got about 95, although they keep building them. Anyway, whatever. So again, that's started the process, okay? So the city has an officer assigned to all the middle schools and high schools in the city. I assume they've got one assigned to the elementary school. But again, let's remember, they're not there the entire school day, okay? They're still moving around. For elementary schools, they might move around from school to school, but they are assigned to those schools, okay? But then Knox County decided that they were going to create their own school security force. Matter of fact, Knox County is one of the highest number of school security officers. You have SSOs and you have SROs. One works for the sheriff's department or the law enforcement agency. One works for the school system. But all that to be said, and then interestingly enough, this is happening on Saturday, the 29th of April. An incident happened yesterday that we're going to talk about at West High School, April the 28th. Remember, the school shooting in Nashville happened on March the 27th. Okay, so we're talking about a month and a day of this incident happened at West High School. But on Thursday, the 27th, the Knox County School Board voted on their $668 I believe it was $9 million budget for next year. Why they couldn't just go ahead and round it up to 670 million, I don't know. But anyway, every million counts, right? And every million eventually adds up. Anyway, all that to be said. So let's go back a couple of years, okay? We had some problems at Austin East. We had about 5 students that were students at Austin East that had died from gun violence. But in particular, we had Anthony Thompson Jr., who the Knoxville Police Department shot in the bathroom of Austin East High School, and he died. Okay? Everybody has an opinion on what happened to Anthony Thompson Jr. Everybody has an opinion, and that's great. One thing about me as a blogger for 18 years is I have an opinion, and I give you my opinion. Sometimes you agree with me, sometimes you don't, and that's okay. That's what the First Amendment's all about, is people voicing their opinion one way or the other. And so, again, here we are. But Anthony Thompson Jr., from the stories that I've been told, and it's corroborated somewhat in the reports that we saw from the police department and from Sharm Allen's press conference. But there was a dispute among Anthony Thompson Jr. and his then high school girlfriend. She went home because the girl went home because there was a dispute. They called the law. And the one thing that I've been told that from a source is that Anthony Thompson Jr. received some messages from an adult that they're going to get him, or they're going to deal with him after school. Again, the video from Austin East High School shows Anthony Thompson Jr. leaving the school, shows Anthony Thompson Jr. coming back in the school. Did he go to get the gun and come back? We believe so, or people believe so. He was in the bathroom, basically waiting for the end of school. So if you can believe, if everything that I've told you, that I've been told, and that I've seen corroborated in reports, if all of that is true, then Anthony Thompson Jr. didn't mean to use the gun at school. He was waiting so that he would have some self-defense mechanism in case a threat was made on him, right? I mean, let's just play this out. We could be wrong. Anthony Thompson Jr.'s dead. We don't know. But that's kind of the assumption, right? And then, everyone who is a gun right activist, and I believe in having weapons to defend yourself, to protect your property, to protect your family. And I have them. But I'm not a gun collector. I don't collect AR-15s. I just collect what I gotta have to do the job I need it to do, and I don't need something of that magnitude. But it is what it is, okay? So let's now say, okay, so then at some point on April the 28th at West High School, we find out about midday that the school was on lockdown. The school was going to be dismissed early. But apparently what happened was a gun fired in a backpack. Apparently wherever that bullet went, either fragments of that bullet or if that bullet hit a block wall, fragments came off and injured a school employee. We're assuming a teacher, because I think that's what the news said, a school teacher, right? So all of this to say that there was a gun in a backpack. So if you've got this security force at Knox County Schools that on Thursday you realized that the school security officers weren't getting the 12% increase that the custodians, the secretaries, the cafeteria workers are all getting. And then you went ahead and added that to them. And Chief Perryard got up and said, hey, we're the most underpaid school security department in the area, incomparable. And I'm not faulting anybody for getting a pay raise. I think, everybody deserves the money they make, and I'm okay with that. But the problem is, then we get fast forward to back to the Friday incident. So then the school puts out a statement that they had heard a large sound, and that then found that a teacher had been injured. Well, that statement from the school came only seconds before a statement from KPD saying there's a situation with a student who had a gun, who the gun went off, fragments or shrapnel injured in a school employee. The school employee's okay. The student's in custody. Investigation continues. So here's my problem, is that with 4 security officers and decades of school security, there's still not a good protocol for how you deal with these situations. First of all, with all the money that's been invested in the schools for school security, the gun shouldn't have even gone across the threshold of the door building. But if people are going to want, if the shooter in Nashville wanted to get into Covenant School, they did, because they shot through the glass. The doors were locked. They shot through the glass to get into the building. Thankfully, Metro Nashville Police Department was quick to respond, quick to enter the building, quick to take the shooter out. Okay? Only thankful that Metro Nashville Police Department was very, very on top and very, very responsive to what happened at Covenant. Or it would have been worse, no doubt. So people that want to do harm are going to do harm. But again, the questions that need to be asked post the firing of a weapon in a backpack: what's the protocol? Putting out a statement that there was a large boom when you know that it was a gun. You know that a 14-year-old, which is probably a freshman, is on his way to juvenile, has been arrested. One of your employees, one of your faculty members, has an injury that she really should have gone to the hospital or to a doctor, but she didn't. Or he, sorry, shouldn't assume that faculty members are female. The faculty member should have gone to get medical treatment, because the medical treatment would then allow for the opportunity to seek some further mental assistance, because I'm only assuming, I've never been shot by a weapon that could kill me. I've been shot by a BB gun when I was a kid, but you're not the situation where or I've not been shot by a bullet in that regard. So there's going to be some, not only is that faculty member going to have some potential issues that maybe counseling needs to help deal with, but think about the teacher that's in the next room, or the teacher in the other room, the 2 teachers on each side of that classroom. The mind is an interesting thing, okay? And the fact that those teachers are going to be thinking that student could have been in my class. Or maybe they're saying that student was in my class the period before. Or, yeah, that student was in my homeroom. Or that student's going to be in my class next. And then you begin to think about how many days had that student carried that gun. All right? So the school system's got to do something to have some concrete protocols. And whoever told the principal not to say that it was a gun just to say it was a loud boom, has some answers to do themselves, because you're not being open and transparent with your community like your board policy says that you're going to be. So that's got to be dealt with. And then going forward, we've got to find a way to properly address all this. I'm saying all this to say this. We've had 4 security chiefs that I'm aware of in decades at the Knox County schools. The Knox County School Board and the Knox County school system is there to educate students. The Sheriff's Department, the Knox County Sheriff's Department, already has vacancies of about 30% of their force between their corrections officers and their on-the-street officers. So they can't accommodate taking over the school security force. So I really think that we have to look at the Knox County schools and Knox County, and in particular, maybe even the governor's office, need to look at making the school security office a branch of either the governor or the mayor of Knox County. You've got the employees, you've got the HR department. Chief Perriar could easily answer to Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Those employees would then be under the county, and then the school system would take whatever money they're paying right now for school security, transfer that to the county, and let Mayor Jacobs instruct on how to do it. Because the bottom line is something's not happening. In peace officer training, peace officer is a police officer. It's just called peace officer and then police officer, right? Anyway, in those trainings, particularly when they go to the firing range and they're learning how to shoot their weapon and all those things, they are taught 2 things. One, they are taught that no gun is ever unintentionally fired. If you want to believe the statement from the Knoxville Police Department, and then the follow-up, if there was a follow-up comment from the schools, well, the gun was in their backpack, it fired. Okay. It still wasn't unintentionally fired, because the second thing they teach at peace officer training is that it takes 8 to 10 pounds of pressure to pull a trigger. Now, whatever was in his backpack, hers, I think it was a male. It was a 14-year-old student. Whatever was in their backpack that caused that trigger to fire had to have been 8 to 10 pounds of pressure. Could have been a water bottle? Maybe. Could it have been a textbook? Maybe. But there's still a lot of things we don't know yet about what happened at West High School. Since the story that came out yesterday, and since all the other things that are going on, I've gotten a lot of reports that may be true, maybe not true. There's been several threats, unconfirmed threats at West High School this year. Several reports of all kinds of things that I've heard about. Now, are they true? Maybe. Are they not true? Possibly. But the fact of the matter is, there's something going on. And West High School is predominantly a pretty diverse school. I mean, it pulls from Sequoia Hills. It pulls from some lower income areas. So, I mean, there's a good mix. Probably about a 50-50 mix at West High School, I would say. Was the first international baccalaureate school. Offered the international baccalaureate program. So it has a great reputation of a school that is on the move. Athletically, West High School is one of the top-notch schools athletically in athletic sporting competition. So there's something going on there that the new superintendent needs to deal with. This has not been a good year for Knox County schools. This has not been a great first year for John Ryswick, the new director of schools, the new superintendent of schools. You had a situation where you wanted to hurry through, or the board wanted to hurry through a custodial contract with a private company in November, December, but you held off till January, and you've hired them till the end of June to provide 50 custodians. There's reports all over the county about what those janitors are not doing and what they are doing. One in particular left the gas valve on at Hardin Valley Academy overnight, which could have been disastrous. You have this situation. So you've just had a lot of things going on that has not been a great first year. So I give this Brian Hornback experience just to say that from my experience as a board member, as a former board vice chair, as a former East Board of Director for the Tennessee School Boards Association, all of my involvement in public education as an elected official, and then now as an 18-year blogger, following it, there's something wrong. Something's got to be fixed, and it's going to be up to this board to fix it. Probably one of the most diverse boards that I've ever seen. I get frustrated with all elected boards at some point in time. This one's interesting. You got Dr. Butler from the first, Jennifer Owen from the second, Daniel Watson from the third, and Catherine Bike from the fourth. All I would say considered moderate to liberal. Then you have Susan Horn, Betsy Henderson, Steve Triplett, and Christy, who I would consider conservative. And then you got Mike McMillan from the 8th. Mike's a former teacher who was faced with his contract being terminated by the superintendent at the time, so he retired. He was on the county commission following his father's death in '92. His father had served from '66 to '92, and for all full disclosure, I ran against his father in 1990. I was 23. His father had been in office 23 years. His father won re-election by 112 votes over the votes I received. And that's great because we ended up in 92 moving from East Knox County to West Knox County, where we have raised our family. It was, hey, everything works for a reason. And so I was able to represent the folks in West Knox County on the school board. 10 years later, we ran in 90. Joe died in 92. Mike got reappointed or got appointed in 92, won the special election in 92, served until 2006. In 2006, he was defeated on the county commission, and then I think it was in 2010 that he became a school board member and has served there until now. So anyway, Mike's getting up in age. He's missed quite a few meetings due to illness and other things. But anyway, all that to say that the school board is got 4 that are, I would consider, moderate to liberal. You have 4 that are moderate to conservative, and then you have Mike. And so that's kind of where the school board is. I think Ryswick was a good choice. There was only 2 choices. It was him and the lady from Bradley County. And I think both of them were competent and both of them could maybe do the job. But Ryswick is the guy that's the superintendent, and so he's got to fix it and got to figure out how to do this. But at some point, we've got to not have guns in the schools, and in particular, not have them go off in school, particularly a month and a day after covenant. That's it for the 127th episode of the Brian Hornback Experience. We'll be back relatively soon.